What's happening, guys? Joe Clem 15 coming at you again. St. Joe's Boxing Channel, and this is my post-fight analysis reaction solo that my popular friends assisting me. Anyway, this is my analysis on the Pacquiao Margarito fight that took place on Saturday. Very entertaining fight. Definitely glad I picked in a little bit of money to see it. Definitely worth watching. I mean, wow. November has just been a great month for boxing, hasn't it? I don't know about you, but I'm loving it. Anyway, let me break down this fight. Show you guys, share with you guys some things that I found interesting and what happened and yada yada yada. Let's get down to it. So Margarito comes out. I don't know why Garcia had Margarito come out jabbing. Now, the interesting thing is that Margarito landed the jab, which I predicted that he would land the jab with somewhat consistency, given his long reach and the fact that Manny is vulnerable when it comes to jabs. But Margarito is not the kind of fighter who needs to come out jabbing. There's times to use it, but he was using it on too consistently, and you would think that that's not something that you should that would be forbidden for a boxer to do. Like, oh, you can't ever jab too much, but yes, you can. He came out fighting a winky right kind of style, where he was coming forward flat-footedly. I don't know if it's a word, but you know what I mean, flat-footedly, throwing a jab and covering up. And I was like, what the hell are you doing, dude? I was like, you have to understand, you have to know thyself. Remember in The Matrix when Neo is in the Oracle's house, and there's that little sign that says something in Greek, and it really says, you translate it, it says, know thyself. Know himself. I mean, you're not a boxer, dude. You're not going to put on a boxing clinic. You're not going to pick Manny apart, so why are you coming out jabbing? If you're going to use a jab, do it to offset Manny's combinations, not to come forward like winky right and jab the dude. Didn't make any sense. Manny was the same old Manny. This guy is, like I've said before in my other videos, he's unfightable. You're not going to be able to outfight Manny. There's only a couple people. There's few people in boxing history, there's just certain fighters where they're just too fast or too powerful, to the point where brawling is not. That's not ever going to be an option. Fighters like Tyson, you're not going to outfight Tyson. You have to box him. Well, I'm going to say the same thing with Manny. You're not going to outfight Manny. I'm going to say the same thing for Sugar Shane Mosley. You're not going to outfight Shane Mosley. You're going to have to use boxing skills if you were indeed to beat these people. So Manny came out, and like I've said before, he's not a fighter who comes forward necessarily. He's not a fighter that fights going backwards. He's a fighter that has somebody to follow him, and he will dictate and choose when and where he's going to come in with shots and get out. And interestingly enough, I don't think we'll give Manny enough credit towards his counter punching abilities. I mean, like I said in my prediction, Margarito throws wide shots, and although he tightened them up, he's still significantly slower, and on top of that has slow arms that he weren't able to get back, and thus Manny, as soon as Margarito missed, out of the way. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but I kind of came up with two predictions for this fight. The first one was probably more accurate towards what took place on Saturday. And then I went and said that, that it was going to be a decision in Manny's favor, but not a blowout like it was on Saturday. This is all due to the fact of, from what I saw in the sixth round, uh, the way Margarito should have been fighting when he had the energy. I mean, it's just kind of just confused. I guess I understand what they were trying to do, but Garcia needs to know. If Garcia would have had more time for Margarito and realized exactly what the hell he is, he wouldn't have tried to have no walk forward jab strategy. But the point is, anyway, after Manny had landed his big body shot, which was very smart, Roach needed to do that immediately because Antonio has a great chin, and stereotypically, Mexicans generally have big chins, tough chins, and if you hit him in the body, you'll have a lot more success. Manny catches him with the body shot, snicking Margarito, punching. Anyway, Margarito comes back the next round, I believe the sixth, and he hurts Manny with a body shot. A left hook to the body, and I think a right hook to the body, and he also got in a good uppercut. Manny was a little bit of a trouble, but damn, fighter's instincts. He pivoted. I like the way he has. They mentioned it before in the fight about Manny's footwork. That dude would be a really good in the 33-yard shuffle in football. Like he covers ground very quickly with his lateral movement very fast, and he pivoted off the ropes and got Margarito on the ropes just like that to answer back, which was very important. Not necessarily in a scoring sense or in a damaging sense, but it was a mental impression. Like, yeah, you just fucked me up, but I eat those. He was hurt, but he said his body language to me said, "I eat those." Came back in that round and prevented a momentum shift from happening in the fight, still establishing his dominance that was occurring. Oh man, I don't know what the Margarito. I guess why I figured I gave the prediction that I did because I figured Margarito was going to come out like that in the first place, not jabbing. He doesn't have time to do that. Because you're not going to outlast Manny in those later rounds when you're more tired. You need to start breaking him to the body in the beginning, not trying to jab him. But too bad he didn't. Margarito started to fade. His stamina has decreased dramatically, at least from what I've seen. He's not the kind of fighter who holds the records for the most punches thrown against somebody, whatever, against Claudio. I didn't see that kind of stamina that night. And it could be due to the body shot, because body shots are not like headshots. Body shots last a lot longer. Trust me. A lot longer. So he could have still been hurt from that body shot, and maybe that's why he was just fatiguing at a much faster rate. But regardless, he didn't have the same kind of volume output as he had in the past. Either due to that body shot or being weight drained from coming into the catch weight. But since Garcia said that weight wasn't going to be a problem, I'm going to have to assume that it was from the body, the work of the body that Pacquiao did. So there's outrage people about the catch weight. Frankly, I think I do have a slight problem with it being a catch weight and Manny getting his 154 pound title at 150. Not because it would make me more mad if Manny couldn't beat these people with catch weights, but he can beat these people with catch weights. I feel like I don't have this resentment of history being cheated so much as I do Roach and Arum cheating Pacquiao and maybe not having enough faith in him. Like, dude, he'll be fine. He doesn't need a catch weight for Cotto. He doesn't need a catch weight for Margarito. Those victories could have been legitimate. There was no reason for a catch weight. And I think that's just frustrating. And also it's more so insulting, not so much to the whole I guess you can say boxing history, but more so the modern boxers who are now undergoing that rule of weighing in the day before. Because back in the day, back in Henry Armstrong's era, they didn't have it to where you weighed in the day before and you hydrated 15 pounds. They had it where you weighed in the night of the fight. So you wouldn't have first of all, you wouldn't have had a junior middleweight division in the first place, but let's say you wouldn't have people coming in at 165 pounds. cut it. So people put a little bit too much emphasis on the catch weight. It is significant though, because it does. I mean, I'm trying to get down to my trainer wants me to get down to 168, and I started off out of shape kind of at like 195 or 193, and I know like once I get to 175, it's gonna be really hard for me to drop the last 7 pounds. So somebody had to catch it with me, like, oh, just make 166. Kill it. There's also an outcry about Manny not fighting African American fighters. Thus, he can't be considered the pound for pound or the best fighter in the world. It's interesting because I somewhat agree and don't agree with this argument. It is significant that Manny hasn't fought any African American fighters, but I don't think it's so much that people who are saying this are like, oh, black power or anything like that. It has nothing to do with not too much about like black superiority within the sport, even though black people have dominated the sport, blacks and Mexicans. But it's the fact that Manny has a particular style that he's been going against consistently when it comes to Hispanics or just people who come forward and fight him. And like I said, he's not a fightable opponent unless you just land a really good one. But I need to see him go against a boxer, a slick boxer. And given his vulnerability to jabs, given the fact that he's at times pretty fairly easy to hit, it will be interesting to see what happens once he goes up against a slick boxer. And usually slick fighters happen to be African American. So you see where it does and does not apply. Hector Camacho is a slick boxer, and he's not black. Prince Nassim, slick, Angel Manfredi. I think those people would have given Manny problems in their prime. They're not even all that great, but just that style that Manny hasn't seen before could give him. I think that's what he's susceptible to, and I think that's why Roach and Arum have kind of put him against great fighters, good fighters, but all of them come forward and allow him to dictate when he comes in and out with combinations. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he'll be forced to. Well, we'll say that for the video. When it comes to making predictions, how I had two predictions. Like I had a prediction, then I revisited it to give you more in-depth analysis. I changed it slightly. I had it being more competitive. Still had Manny winning up on rounds, but I figured Margarito would have hurt him a little bit more, give him a little bit more punishment than he dished out. Probably would have if he started the fight the right way. There's always a percentage of certain outcomes that happen in fights. You can never just predict the exact outcome. Sometimes you can. I mean, if you're lucky enough, like, oh yeah, Tyson's gonna win in the first round. Like you'll probably get that shit back in his prime. But in a fight, in most fights, there's a percentage of probability in terms of this can happen. And I feel like in my second revisited thing, my revisit prediction, there's probably like a 20 or maybe 30% chance of Margarito turning that into a closer fight, but it just didn't go down due to perhaps the wrong strategy and a vicious body shot. One more thing to go. I was talking with my trainer today before I went to work or whatever, and he's really good friends with Mayweather's uncle, and he said that they're gonna start negotiations for the Pacquiao and Floyd. They said that they're gonna try to start it soon, the negotiations soon for June of next year. So hopefully that does throw down. And this is a very reliable source. He wouldn't lie about it. Kevin Morgan's he's down. So good friends with the Mayweathers and stuff like that. But hopefully it pops off. Joe Clem 15 out.